Good morning, John. Welcome to DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. How's it going?
Good to see you, man. It's going well. I was in New York all day yesterday. And Ted, it was so cold when I left Washington that the train was delayed 40 minutes because two of the train doors were frozen in the open position. And they had to get a crowbar to,
Oh my God,
to pry them away from, being frozen against the train itself. 40 minutes we were late, an hour and 15 minutes late coming back. I didn't get home till 1 o'clock in the morning.
See, this is why we should have good relations with Russia, because the Transit Authority in New York could call their counterparts at the Trans-Siberia Railroad
and see how the heck they handle this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
It is Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. Please like, follow, and share the show. We're here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Today.
What happened?
Did
we lose?
Knocked myself out.
Oh, I was going to say, I just said, what happened?
Like that swipe thing. You know what I mean?
That, yes.
I hate that iOS. Steve Jobs, if you weren't dead, I would kill you. Okay, so let's see. Among other things, I mean, we've been asked why do we not have on the rundown Trump's remarks about Rob Reiner? We can talk about that. So today, so we have this near miss over the skies over Venezuela. Apparently, U.S. planes are flying around without transponders over there, and a JetBlue plane had a near miss with a U.S. military refueling plane. And the JetBlue pilot is furious and saying that basically the U.S. is being reckless and it's outrageous. Chile just became the latest country with a right wing in Latin America with a right wing president. Trump just designated fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. And there's a new lady head of MI6, Blaise Metreweli. I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Anyway, so she just gave an important policy speech, and her emphasis was, unsurprisingly, but maybe I am surprised that it was unsurprising, just basically Russia, Russia, Russia. So anyway, and we have some questions already in the chat. So I like this first. I would just go straight to this question, if you're okay with this, John. Lauren Featherston is asking, says she loves the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
How would we rate and grade this administration's first year in office? You can see why I like this question.
I'm going to let you answer it then, because
well, you need to give it straight A's.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, so I think there's obviously, it depends on what metric you're looking at. Are you looking at it from a standpoint of American history? Are you looking at it from a standpoint of effectiveness? Are you looking at it from a standpoint of, what do the American people want and need? Are you looking at it from the standpoint of what did the administration have in mind when they first came in, and have they accomplished it, and are they close to accomplishing it? I'm going to start with the last one first. The administration had a very ambitious agenda, and basically their primary strategy has been to do everything that they can with as quickly as possible without bothering with Congress, and basically let the chips fall where they may. It's an interesting, very untraditional approach to governance, and I would say right now the jury is still out. But I think that they've made a lot of big sweeping changes that are going to, in the long run, be easy to replace because they weren't enacted with congressional approval, and because they weren't enacted with the support of the public. There was no buy-in really, and things that you do quickly without getting popular buy-in tend to be easy to get rid of. So we'll see. I guess the point is, it's like Zhou Enlai. It's too early to tell, but I'm pessimistic. I would say that the administration is probably not likely to leave sweeping changes behind it. And then in terms of whether it's good for the American people, I think it's been I would have to say the letter grade there would have to be a D. And we'll talk about the new economic statistics just broke just as we were going on the air. We're up 41,000 or 46,000 jobs, something like that. You need 200, or economists like to see 200 or 300,000 jobs added to the economy every month. This is after some previously low months. Unemployment is now rising to 4.6%. Pretty substantial. And that's not including all the people who've given up looking for work. I think this administration has taken its eye off the ball, which was the economy, and that's why they're here. That's why Biden lost, and I think also their execution on the immigration issue has been lacking, because it's been basically like, let's go with the low-hanging fruit, the people dropping their kids off at school and the day laborers at Home Depot, and that's not what the American people wanted to start with. They wanted to start with the scumbags, the rapists, the murderers, the gangbangers, and that's not what they're doing. So I would say, incomplete on the first metric, probably like a D on the second. It's not too late to turn it around, though, by any means. I mean, it's, they have pretty much the next 6 months, I'd say, to get their act together. They could fix a lot if they got serious on healthcare. They could really staunch the bleeding.
I'm going to add to that too and say that I think the reason why the administration hasn't done better in this first year of the second term is the complete and total failure of the Republican leadership in Congress. There was a piece in the Washington Post this morning, Ted, saying that, and I'll preface it by saying, you remember Republicans used to jump up and down because Barack Obama was signing so many executive orders. Donald Trump set a new record in his first term, signing more than double the number of executive orders that Barack Obama ever signed. And he's doubled it again by signing more executive orders in his first year of the second term than he signed in his entire presidency in the first term. So he's having to do that. I'm not blaming Donald Trump. He's having to do that because Mike Johnson is the weakest and the worst Speaker of the House in American history.
That's true.
And because there is no stomach on the Senate side to initiate legislation. So he's got to do it by executive order. But one other thing, Robbie said in our private chat that as a conservative, he ranks the first year of the second term as a failure. And I'd love to hear why.
Okay, well, let's bring...
Yeah.
All right, Robbie, let's hear.
Hi. Well, I mean, first of all, what Trump did is that he ran as a populist and he's governing as a Republican. We didn't elect a Republican.
That's a good point.
We elected someone who went in with the promise of blowing the system up and starting over with the hard reset. And the promise that he had was that he was going to listen to the voices of the normal everyday worker. That was what he ran on. That's why the man had the support of what he had. Right wingers like me, people are moderate. Even people on the left came out and they supported Trump. And
that's true.
All three times that he ran.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
But he governs as if he's just a typical Republican. So it's just, at this point, what's the point of having the man? What has he changed fundamentally? What has he done? He's gave us more debt. He's created more inflation. He's strengthened the power of the executive. If you want a small government
Big
like
time.
I do, that's the last thing you should ever want.
Well,
to
he's
have
militarized
happen.
The streets of American cities. That's been the main thing that has affected, I think, from an ordinary American perspective. If you live in a city, you're now likely to see National Guardsmen or ICE guys on a raid.
Yeah, and that's something else. So, personally, I support what ICE is doing. I think it needs to be done. But I'm 100% opposed to a militarized police force. I don't want to live in the Soviet Union. So let's not do that.
Mm-hmm. By the way, the Soviet Union didn't really have a militarized police force. Their cops didn't have guns for the most part. They just carried like billy clubs.
Stand around. Yeah.
With and maybe a flashlight.
I'll take y'all's words for it. That was never there. But.
Yeah. All right. Even though they were called the militia, it's just a misnomer. Okay. Let's do another question. This one. I referred to this. Ryan Heyman says nothing in the rundown about Trump basically tap dancing on Rob Reiner's still warm corpse.
Yeah, that was not cool at all.
Tasteless beyond belief,
Tasteless.
even by Trumpian standards.
Yeah.
It was low.
And people in the Trump orbit are speaking out against it. It was classless.
I mean, the thing is, it's sort of like, okay, so Rob Reiner was a big Democrat, sure.
Right.
But like, I know basically Donald Trump likes to make everything about him. And this was that. That's what this was about. And I mean, in that sense, it worked. But it's just like, honestly, you know what it is? It's the equivalent of liberals who made fun of Charlie Kirk's death. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the same thing.
I think it's exactly the same.
And it's just not cool.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Thanks for the buck from FUSO. How's the CIA involved in the Venezuela invasion?
What
would they have you do? What would they have had you do if they had sent you?
There are lots of moving parts when trying to overthrow a government. Mm-hmm. First of all, the CIA is 100% involved in whatever it is that our government is doing right now in Venezuela. So what you need to do is operationally put pressure on Maduro to just run away. You want Maduro to run away. But we know that Trump's idea was to make him think that he could run away.
Yes.
And I say that because we now know that the CIA tried to recruit his private pilot, mm-hmm. so that were he to run off like to Havana, the guy would actually land the plane in Key West, and we grab him and put him on trial for drug trafficking a la Manuel Noriega.
Which, by the way, would mean that no other target of American regime change would ever have cause to believe anything that we promised in the future.
That's exactly right. Number two, so you have to secure the presidential palace, whether Maduro's in it or not. Number two, you have to either co-opt the military or bombard the military if they can't be co-opted. Number three, you have to take control of the television and radio stations, at least the ones in Caracas.
And these are CIA operations, or would these be military operations?
They would be joint operations.
Okay.
Yeah. Since 9/11, most of these kinds of operations would be joint with special forces. And then third, you have to take over the main intersections of the capital. But like I've said in the past, like we talked about on Friday, overthrowing the government is the easy part.
Yeah.
Right?
It's governing.
It's governing. That's the hard part. What do you do the next day?
Right. That's exactly the issue. Right. And I mean, I guess you would also need to now there would be cyber attacks against Venezuelan internet infrastructure. Right. They'd probably want to tank the internet.
Right.
And,
exactly.
Shut down the banking wire system so that regime officials can't send their money overseas.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Hey, can I add one thing please. Too about this near miss between the JetBlue?
Let's talk about that, because we should just go to it, because it's it's related.
This is bad policy. You can't just announce on Truth Social that you're shutting down airspace and then not really do it, right? You can't. You can't just tell the Pentagon, go ahead and just fly wherever you want to fly, buzz the coast or violate Venezuelan airspace or whatever, and not tell civilian aircraft to avoid the area. If you're serious about overthrowing this government, you have to shut down the airspace, which means there shouldn't be any JetBlue flight in the area.
Right.
And it's like nobody's taking this seriously. You're either going to do it or you don't do it. You can't talk about it and then just pretend that, that's the plan. It doesn't work. I mean,
what the pilot said is, and I think it's maybe not a main story, which is why I'm glad we're talking about it. It ought to be a main story. It's really chilling.
Yes.
The pilot said that this U.S. military plane without a transponder appeared 2 miles ahead of him. I assume that he only knew about it visually,
right?
At the same altitude. Now, 2 miles.
Yeah, 2 miles is about 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah, 2 miles is a long way when you're driving at 40 miles an hour on the road, but these planes go at 600 miles per hour.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so literally, I'm sure he had to, the passengers had a jolting experience as he veered the plane to avoid, and he was absolutely ripshit. And a lot of these international pilots are military; they're U.S. Air Force veterans.
Yes,
so they
most of
know
them are.
very well that this is not how you. This is no way to run an Air Force. It's crazy. Do you think? I mean, this is, and also, I guess the thing is, I have to bring up what happened in Washington. Which still hasn't really been addressed. At Reagan National Airport, the American Airlines plane, the tragedy that claimed
Kansas City,
almost 100 lives. And, and then with the U.S. with the Air Force helicopter that hit it. It was clear it was the Air Force's fault.
Yes,
my understanding is that the administration is trying to blame the airline, and
they are trying to blame the airline. And on Thursday of this past week, in the immediate aftermath of the accident, they restricted military helicopter flights in the immediate area of National Airport. National Airport is literally next to the Pentagon, right? On Thursday, they went back to the old rules again. I live directly underneath the flight path for landing. The airport's 3 miles from my house. As I'm looking out the window, I see a plane right now that's flying in to land. Every few seconds, that's not true. Every few minutes, you'll see military helicopters too. Ospreys, Hueys, they're all over the place. It's a miracle that they don't hit each other more frequently. They're all in the same airspace.
Yeah, I think people don't really understand how intermingled all that stuff is. And also, if you haven't flown into Reagan National, it's really in town.
Oh, yeah.
It's on the metro system.
It is. It's on the metro system. Yeah.
Which is, by the way, makes it a great airport to fly into.
I try to fly exclusively or almost exclusively in and out of Reagan.
I mean, it's even more in town than LaGuardia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more like the old, if for old New Yorkers will remember the Eastern Airlines terminal on the Upper East Side, on the east side of Manhattan. That it's like that. That's what Reagan National is more like.
That's right.
So yeah, no, it's really reckless. We're gonna, people have to die before we take things seriously. But now people have died, and we're still not taking it seriously. Question for you, John, from Zakaria. I don't think it's Fareed. Did you hear about Desiree Fixler, the whistleblower about the WEF? Is it possible that justice won't serve these demons? Hope you get pardoned.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've been kind of tangentially following her revelations and whistleblowing. She's a serious person. You can disagree with some of the positions that she's taking, but she's a serious person coming right out of the WEF. We don't get very much news about her because she's based in Europe, but yeah, she's legit. I have respect for her.
Okay, cool. And Robbie, we'll take that ad whenever you're ready. Have we heard, Nicholas Frankos wants to know, of this recent controversy between Dan Crenshaw and the podcaster Sean Ryan?
Oh, yeah. Not. I have. It's so much fun. Dan Crenshaw, first of all, as we've said multiple times, is a scumbag. And everybody says it. And, he tricked so many people. He ran for Congress in 2018, and there were like 8 people in that race in Texas. He ended up winning with 20-something%. But the guy's a bona fide war hero. I'm
sorry to do this. Please hold that thought. We have to do the ad because the clock starts ticking once the ad comes up. This is a little awkward here. All right, still scrambling for a Christmas gift while many shipping deadlines have already passed. Here's your lifeline, Chicago Steak Company. Head to mychicagosteak.com/rumble, code RUMBLE. They're still shipping for Christmas, and shipping is free. Hurry, though. Slots are filling up fast. Gift your loved ones the top 2% of beef in America, USDA Prime and Premium Angus, hand-cut by master butchers, marbling so good it hits a hot pan and fills the whole house. That buttery meat goodness, you know the one. Spend $229 and they'll throw in 6 free ribeyes plus free shipping, $240 in premium steak on the house. Your gift shows up in a black and gold box packed with dry ice. They crack it open, vapor rolls out, instant Christmas morning feel. Skip the sweater, give them something they'll actually remember. mychicagosteak.com/rumble, code RUMBLE, RUMBLE. Sorry, Scott. Sorry, John. Please go ahead.
That sounds delicious, by the way.
It does.
Anyway.
I know. Every time I hear that ad, I'm like, I haven't had any breakfast, but I didn't have much to eat this morning. I'm like, it makes me hungry.
All I had is my quadruple shot of espresso. So anyway, Sean Ryan and Crenshaw. So Crenshaw, he's got the patch over his eye. He just got back from Afghanistan. He's a war hero, SEAL Team 6. So he ekes out a win in the Republican primary. It's a solidly Republican district. He wins the election easily. He has won re-election ever since 2020, 2022, 2024. Sean Ryan said on his podcast a couple of weeks ago, how is it that in 2018, Crenshaw's worth like a couple of bucks, and now in 2024, with a salary of $174,000 a year, he's worth, millions and millions of bucks? How's that possible? Unless he's corrupt. Well, Crenshaw's response to Sean Ryan was to send him, not to send him, but to post a response saying, my buddies at 6, meaning at SEAL Team 6, say you're talking shit about me. It was a threat. And Sean Ryan's like, bring it on, phony boy. And so Crenshaw has his attorneys send Sean Ryan a cease and desist letter. And Ryan's like, not afraid of your freaking hired guns. Bring it on. And why aren't you just answering the question? If you make $174,000 a year as a member of Congress, how are you all of a sudden worth millions and millions of dollars? Unless you're corrupt.
I want in on that secret.
Seriously. So the funny thing about Sean Ryan, I follow him on Facebook. He's posting everything, like every scrap of paper he gets from the lawyers, from Crenshaw's lawyers, he posts it and mocks it. Every text message he gets from Crenshaw threatening him, he posts it and mocks him. And it's like Crenshaw, my beef with Crenshaw. He's just he's a profligate, cheater, womanizer, just a disgusting human being. I have zero respect for this guy.
Tell us how you really feel, John.
Yeah. I'm very sensitive to the issue of cheating.
Finish Leica. Quite frankly, I don't think this is a comment. I don't think U.S. political elites care about the economy. It'll always be good enough for themselves either way. Yeah. That's true.
I agree.
Whenever you read like accounts of the history of the Great Depression, there's always these people who, they lived during the Depression, not in the Depression, really rich people who, they were having a great time. Everything was cheap and their money went further than ever. Phil Chatz, I don't understand why people often praise the failure of the other party. If a Trump or a Democrat is successful, we as Americans are successful. As a Robbie ally, we are frustrated because we're waiting. I'm with Phil on that. I would love to see President Trump or any Republican succeed. At this point, I almost have to include Democrats because I don't like them either. As like, whatever. Please succeed. Please.
Yeah,
please.
I want our leaders to succeed. I don't care what the party is. But I'll add another thing too. Lately, the Democrats have taken to exclusively complaining about Donald Trump. No new ideas, no new programs, no new policies, no new legislation, nothing.
Yeah, and their complaints about Trump tend to be very vaporous, right?
Yes.
Like about his style, or he's rude, he says mean things about Rob Reiner, or he threatens democracy in some kind of vague, undefined way. It's not we're not having. That's what frustrates me. We don't have policy debates in this country.
No, we don't.
And it's crazy.
And part of the reason is, I think, first of all, let's look at the Democratic leadership in the House of Representatives. Hakeem Jeffries is already a failure.
Yeah.
Already. There's literally nothing different about his leadership style or his ability to promote policy from what we saw with Nancy Pelosi.
Except Nancy Pelosi was better at keeping her caucus together.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
There was a piece in the Times, I think it was over the weekend, talking about the discharge petition, right? You and I had a conversation ages ago about discharge petitions. And I said, that one of the most recent ones that was successful was in 1986, and it was on Social Security tax, right? They were exceedingly rare. There have been 6 successful discharge petitions in the last 12 months.
That's crazy.
And it's because there's no leadership.
Right.
And so not independent, but individual members of Congress are sponsoring discharge petitions just to get stuff out of committee.
I mean, John, if I could snap my fingers and be a member of Congress without having to run or anything, I still wouldn't want the job.
No, I wouldn't want it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, there's like literally, it's like, it's pointless. It's a waste of your time. There's like literally nothing. And a lot of people have quit recently and said exactly that.
That's right.
Manya the Cat's asking if there's any chance we can get a Perplexity sponsor for your and our shows.
That would be very greatly welcome.
Yes, it would be welcome here too.
Yeah, I'd love it.
Wolfen Fighter wants to know, how is Greece's relationship with Albania? I know a little bit about the relationship with other neighbors, but I have no idea about Albania.
It's correct, as they say, not warm, but it's correct.
That's a very European word.
Yeah, things really went down the toilet in 1991 when Prime Minister Antonis Samaras, he was a member of the Conservative Party. Now he's the leader of his own little, like, very conservative party. He opened the border. Enver Hoxha had died in 1986. The communist government fell apart. Samaras opened the border, and more than 1 million, it was like 1.2 million Albanians crossed the border and entered Greece looking for work. That was a trauma at the time because it put Greeks out of work, and because Albanians were, for the most part, undocumented. They drove wages down. Sometimes they didn't get paid at all. It was a big mess. Well, here we are now, almost 2 generations later, 1.5 generations later, and they're an integral part of Greek society. In fact, most of them that came were ethnic Greeks anyway. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that that's what the problem is now in relations between Greece and Albania. The southern third of Albania is not called Albania in Greece. It's called Northern Epirus province because it's traditionally claimed by Greece. It's ethnically Greek for the most part. The mayors of the towns have Greek names. The Greek Orthodoxy is the religion, while the rest of Albania is Muslim from Ottoman times.
Are the signs in Greek, or?
The signs are both in Greek and Albanian, yes.
Okay.
And so the Greeks are constantly putting pressure on the Albanians to lighten up on the ethnic Greek community. They're harassed, they're discriminated against. Frequently, ethnic Greek political leaders are jailed. A lot of those mayors are in jail now. So it's difficult, but both sides realize they have to live with one another.
And I mean, and obviously, temperamentally and politically, those countries couldn't be more different, right?
Seriously.
Yes. Okay, so I want to pick your brain a little bit about the Chilean election results.
Yeah.
So José Antonio Kast basically has replicated a sort of Latin American Trump kind of anti-immigrant, anti-crime kind of template. Obviously, the politics are specific to Chile, but now it's Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador are all right-wing countries. Obviously, the biggest one of them all, Brazil, is left-wing.
Yep.
So Latin America tends to go in waves politically, right? In the 70s, it was right-wing military dictatorships like Augusto Pinochet, and then in the the aughts, we saw the whole Lulu kind of left-wing Hugo Chavez kind of thing, and now we're pivoting back right. What's going on in Latin America?
Chile is unusual in this respect, in that Kast's election is a result of the Chilean people just being tired of corruption. The left has been just notoriously corrupt, and people are tired of it. And so here's this would-be strongman saying, give me this election and I'm going to clean the place up. So I think that there's not necessarily any great love of the right or the far right in Chile so much as it's this anger with the left for just being a bunch of crooks. But you're right. You're right about waves. And there's something to be said about Milei in Argentina.
Yeah.
He's a right-wing populist. He's made nice with Donald Trump. Trump sends $40 billion in bailout money. And the Chileans are like, hey, I'd like to have a piece of that.
That pisses me off. It really does. I mean, we have people in this country. I mean, like, even as we speak, John, you and I are both renewing our health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. And there's no subsidies for you and me, right? And it sucks. And we're going to be paying like 3 times more for the same shitty plan that sucked before at a third of the price. Anyway, Ray C 2020, thanks for the $5. Can the president decertify federal labor unions if their workers are openly plotting on Zoom calls to sabotage the administration? Federal Unionists Network has been infiltrated and streamed last night on Tor.
Interesting question. So a couple of weeks ago, Donald Trump signed an executive order, which he does almost every day, banning the federal union AFSCME from the federal workspace. And interestingly enough, I just read the executive order yesterday because I wrote an op-ed that included it. He specifically said that he didn't want to allow prison guards to be unionized. That's what started this whole thing. It's all about the prison guards. So the answer to the question is it's unclear. It's unclear whether he can decertify the union. I think probably no. But he's certainly within his rights to say, I don't want any union involvement in federal contract negotiations.
Who certifies unions? Is that the NLRB?
Say that again.
Who certifies labor unions in the U.S.? I didn't realize they had to be. Is that the Department of Labor? Is that the NLRB? What is it?
Yeah, it's the American Federation of what's it called? What's AFSCME stand for? The American Federation of State.
Well, that's the union.
That's the union.
Yeah, but who certifies? I mean, I know that, like, in order to be recognized, you have to be, as a union, you have to have a certain number of members who sign cards and are willing to pay dues and all that stuff. Yeah. But who does that? What labor? I mean, it seems a little silly to me. It's almost like, so in the same way that, like, if we have First Amendment rights, why do we have to get a parade permit to have a demonstration on the street?
Yeah.
Right? From the police. I don't understand that. Either you have First Amendment rights or you don't. And if we have the right to organize and collectively bargain against our employers, why do we have to go to the government to get permission to be recognized as a real labor union? Why can't we just do it?
It doesn't make sense. That's a good question. And federal workers. Listen, you know how stridently pro-union I am. I'm very proudly again a union member right now. I just paid my dues a couple of weeks ago. Very proud to be a member of the union. I was a member of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. My mom was in the American Federation of Teachers. My dad, the National Education Association, and the American Brotherhood of Musicians. My grandfather on my dad's side, the American Brotherhood of Meat Cutters and the Steelworkers Union, and my grandfather on my mom's side, Steelworkers Union. So long union tradition in my house.
Clearly.
I never joined the federal union because federal workers are forbidden from striking.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's no point.
There's no point.
And by the way, I don't think federal workers should be forbidden from striking.
No, I agree with you.
I mean, it's like that's then at that point you've got slave labor.
Exactly.
You should always have the right to withhold your labor.
Absolutely, yes.
So yeah, I don't think there should be any exceptions to that. By the way, I'm probably still a member of probably the most unsuccessful union in American history, the Cartoonists Union, and they had a national strike back during World War II in the 40s, and cartoonists were quite rich, and there were a lot more of us. There were thousands and thousands. Anyway, the thing is, as soon as they basically all turned into scabs. As soon as the jobs opened up, they're such a bunch of lone wolves. They just decided to just take whatever jobs they could get. So it sucks. No solidarity in the cartooning world.
Yes.
So, all right. Let's talk about this Trump declaration of street and fentanyl as a WMD. So yesterday, also at the same time, it's worth noting that the U.S. military blew up 3 more alleged drug boats, this time in the Pacific Ocean.
Yep.
According to the Pentagon, they killed at least 8 unknown civilians, unidentified people, supposedly narco traffickers. And they're not calling them narco-terrorists in this particular press release. So, I mean, John, the thing that I keep coming back to is, I don't understand unforced errors, right? So this president ran successfully in a Republican primary against the Iraq War after the fact. And he basically, we all know how the Iraq War started out, predicated, the excuse was that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. We know that wasn't true. And it was all a lie. And we now know the war was a huge mistake. Well, here we are in Venezuela. And again, we're going to use weapons of mass destruction as an excuse. And again, we know it's not true, but we're going to define, at least when Bush accused, Saddam of still having weapons of mass destruction, at least we knew he was talking about either chemical, biological, or nuclear weapons as defined under international law as WMDs. Here, we're redefining a drug as a weapon of mass destruction, which by definition can't be, because a weapon of mass destruction is an individual weapon that goes off and kills lots and lots of people all at once. Like, no drug can do that. So it's like, you can give drugs to lots and lots of people. You could poison the water supply with drugs. That still wouldn't make it a weapon of mass destruction. So, but I guess he can do this. And I mean, why? I guess the whole thing is, if you're trying to overthrow Venezuela, why go about it in the same way that your adversary failed to do the same thing?
I don't understand it. And not only do I not understand it, I disagree with it, because declaring fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction so cheapens the process that it makes the whole process kind of laughable and ineffective. Like declaring Antifa a terrorist organization. Did you see this video? I posted it on Facebook yesterday. It's these two guys. They're both military veterans, and they're filming themselves. They go up to FBI headquarters and they said, "Hi, we're both Antifa field commanders. We want to turn ourselves in." And the FBI agent's like, "I'm not really sure what to do. Hang here." And they won't take them. They're like, "Well, the president declared it a terrorist group, and we're both anti-fascist, and so we're both from
field commander."
Yeah, and the FBI is like, we don't know what to do. You should just leave. It's the same thing. Fentanyl, weapon of mass destruction. Come on.
And it's like, and we're not even, and fentanyl. That Venezuela doesn't make fentanyl.
No, it doesn't make.
And whatever they're sending, which is probably cocaine, is not going to the United States anyway.
Right. And no, it's going to Western Europe.
Yeah. It's just weird. Thanks a lot for the $20, Soden, over on YouTube.
Oh, thank you.
Good morning. Been under the weather for the last few days. Yeah, there's been a flu going around. A lot of people have gotten it.
A lot.
John, before Putin blew his former friend out of the sky, do you think the Wagner commander was a CIA asset? He almost made it to Moscow, in his march. I don't think he almost made it to Moscow, but I take the point. Right. I mean, actually, what do we think happened there? I mean, I think it's reasonable to assume that he had like a convenient Paul Wellstone like accident. But probably, right?
Yeah. I think Putin probably just shot him right out of the sky.
It's like, you've got to go. The dude was a traitor. Yeah. So, okay. But anyway, so do we think he was a CIA asset?
No. CIA isn't that good to be able to recruit somebody like him. They're just not that good.
Is he kind of, he was also so rich. I mean, he's kind of like, doesn't have vulnerabilities, right? I mean,
no, see, and
you
that's
can't really
the thing.
offer him money.
That's the thing. It's not uncommon to just not be able to identify a vulnerability in a person. There are a lot of people that I would love to have recruited, but there was just no hook.
Yeah, like if the person's like, they're not chasing pussy, they don't need money.
Exactly. Or, there was one guy, his vulnerability was that he was deeply in love with his wife. And the reason that was a vulnerability was because she got breast cancer. And do you want her to be treated in this crappy country we're in? Or do you want her to be treated at the Mayo Clinic? Because I can make that happen tomorrow. That's the hook.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's terrifying, though.
It's awful.
By the way, thanks to the person who, let's see, who is this? Elliot confirms that it's the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board.
Oh, of course,
certifies your union after you hold a union election.
You know what? Of course it is. And we should have known that. I wasn't even thinking of the NLRB.
So, no. And by the way, Robbie and you are kind of having it in the chat about unionization. Robbie says, didn't the unions fail when they allowed deindustrialization of the country?
Robbie,
and you commented that it was capitalists who encouraged deindustrialization that wrecked the unions. Yeah, that's what happened. The unions didn't fight back, though.
No, they didn't.
They didn't. They should have all gone on strike, and they should have had they should have all collaborated and worked together, and they didn't. Like in France, when there's if the postal union goes on strike, the teachers go on strike, the cops go on strike. Everything's on strike together.
I'm commenting now to Robbie. He said, but the unions folded like little girls. And I just texted, that is true, unfortunately. I've talked a couple of times, Ted, about my memory of the beginning of the end in Western Pennsylvania and Eastern Ohio was in 1978 or 77 when the Youngstown Sheet and Tube closed. 77. And half of the kids in junior high school. Japanese dumping is what did it. But half the kids in junior high, their dads lost their jobs. Kids were crying in the halls. Next thing you know, they've all moved to Florida, North Carolina, and the dads all took non-union jobs.
They had to.
You had to feed your family.
Yeah, no question. Let's talk a bit about this MI6 lady, Blaise Metreweli. She's the first. The MI6 is old. They said, I didn't realize it was 116 years old. According to the press, she's the first woman to run MI6, and she gave a big policy speech. And basically, she went on and on and on about how the biggest threat to, I guess, the UK and to Europe in general is Russia, and specifically, it all comes down to the Russo-Ukrainian war. I thought that was I thought that was really kind of sad. She talked a little bit about AI and the how it can be used for, how it's a threat, but also how it can be useful. Also, and so she seems like she comes from the tech side of things, but it did not seem. I guess, what did you think of her analysis? Is my question.
Not convincing. Yes, AI is a very big problem, but you can't say that Russia is the gravest threat to freedom and democracy on the face of the earth. Where do you come up with that? Misuse of technology could be. China could be. Russia is practically bankrupt. It has a population that is shrinking to the point where, at its current birth rate, there will be no Russians in 100 years. None.
Obviously, that won't happen, but that is a funny factoid. Well, and whoever's left will have a lot of room,
a lot of space.
Yeah, a lot of space.
But no, I'm just not seeing Russia as this, in your face global immediate threat that has to. No, I'm not.
I mean, do you think any nation state is even China, or is it? I think that the real threats are going to be more amorphous, like climate change, which may not be specific nation state versus nation state.
That's right. That's right. At the very, very beginning of the Clinton administration, Al Gore was the guy he was the point man for intelligence in the Clinton administration. Bill Clinton wasn't even vaguely interested in intelligence.
Interesting.
So Gore came to the agency and he created, we have the Counterterrorism Center, the Counterintelligence Center, Counter-Narcotics Center. Now there are one or two others. But at the time, he created the Environmental Center to plan for the effects of climate change on global stability. And the day that George W. Bush came into office, they zeroed it out.
That's really I mean, just yesterday we talked about this story about the lost nuclear generator in the Himalayas in northern India. That's a climate change story. It's a threat, right? I mean, because literally, if that glacier hadn't been melting, that thing could have stayed up there for another 10,000 years. It would have been no big deal.
Yes, that's exactly right. Another thing, too, I remember in the very, very early 90s, there was discussion about making AIDS a tier 0 threat, right? So it would be terrorism, China, and AIDS as the three biggest threats. And the Bush people weren't interested in that either. I mean, HIV wasn't the problem in 2001 that it was in 1991 or 1993, but the Bush people just weren't interested. They're like, yeah, it's in Africa. I remember, I won't say the country, but
although it's funny because Bush himself did end up taking an interest in AIDS in Africa.
In the end, there was I won't say the country, but at the beginning of the Clinton administration, what spurred Clinton to do this was a report that there was one African country where every member of the cabinet was HIV positive.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. And they were like, how can Africa survive like this?
No, it
can't.
Bad.
Yeah.
No, that's fucking insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I also have to give Bush some credit for, when apparently he had a pandemic white paper that he put together that kind of anticipated a lot of the stuff. I guess nobody read it after it came out. It's too bad we really weren't ready for COVID. And we should have had warehouses full of masks. That should have been, seriously, we should have had boxes with the old civil defense logo full of masks landing on every doorstep in America like the day it started.
Indeed.
Thanks for the €5, Rod and Goo. We don't have Rumble here in France. We can make it hard to support the show when I can't catch up with you live on YouTube. Well, we do take PayPal. I'll put the PayPal. It's also our email address, so you can reach out. It's you can PayPal us via deprogrampodcast@gmail. I put it up on the screen. It's deprogrampodcast@gmail.com.
And Nick Brachia 76, thank you for the $5 and thank you for that question. John, have you considered developing a one-man show, something that could tour, similar in form, not content, to what Mike Tyson did, starting in February, baby? Yes.
Stay tuned.
We're starting in Santa Fe, then going to Branson, Missouri, Charleston, South Carolina, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. That's going to be the first set of events, and we're going to go all across the country. I did this in the UK in January and February, and it was very successful. I can't wait to get started again. Can't wait.
Very, very cool. Five Hokies says Robbie would likely be a great union leader. I think that's true.
I think that's true.
Yeah,
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie, you want to run a union? If you go on strike against you, that we'll have you droned.
Well, I mean, ultimately, the sole purpose of a government, doesn't matter what government it is to take care of its people. The welfare of the people who live in your borders is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And no one can explain to me why outsourcing all your jobs, your industrial capacity, while at the same time you're throwing your borders open, depressing wages is a net benefit for your people. If you want to destroy your country, that's how you do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had to sort of guess this because it's never been explained to me either, Robbie. The only advantage of deindustrialization, and it wasn't pitched this way, to me would be less pollution. That's about it, maybe. I mean, no one ever claimed that.
Well, I guess if you have record high suicide rates and you have 100,000 people dying every year from drug overdoses, I guess you can make that claim. But
hey, that's where we're going to get our fertilizer.
No, but also though, serious question. Y'all both older than me. Y'all both been in New York. I've never been there. Is New York cleaner now than it was 40 years ago?
Well, I was here 40 years ago.
40 years ago, yeah.
And that's we're talking about 1985.
Yeah. I'm serious. Is Washington D.C.
You don't think so?
In the
Washington
80s?
D.C.
Not in the 80s. Things cleaned up in the 90s for sure. But the 80s were gross.
Yeah, the 80s were pretty gross.
I mean, because it was a hangover from the bankruptcy in the 70s and all that.
It's cleaner now. That's what he's saying, right? Or did I misunderstand?
No, I think. Go ahead, Robbie.
No, what I'm asking is it clean? Is New York City or Washington D.C. or any major city? Is it cleaner now in terms of just trash, garbage, wet destruction? Is
Washington,
it cleaner now?
Absolutely, yes. In Washington.
Well, you know what the big difference is there's no newspapers anymore.
That's
so newspapers used to be everywhere on the street. People would just throw them on the ground, and like they used to start track fires in the subway like all the time. And they're not here anymore.
So the way I've always thought about this, and y'all could, and I could 100% be wrong on this. If people are so concerned about how am I going to pay my bills or take care of my family, or even can I even have a family because I can't afford to get married, how then can you think about a bigger issue like foreign policy or the direction of the government? If you're so consumed about just surviving the day to day, how could you possibly ever think about anything bigger? I don't see how you can. And I think this is all by design.
Well, I don't know if it's all by design. I mean, certainly there's been hostility towards labor. That's always. I mean, just think about it. Like, you know, if roughly 2/3 of your costs as an employer is employment, obviously you're always going to be thinking about ways to get that down. You're always going to want to keep wages low. That they're just after that. And, you know, I mean, in fact, I'm starting to write a column about that for this week.
But that's why you have a union, right?
I mean, basically the Americans, we've been pitched now, like, you know, we've been talked to as consumers, which we are. We're all consumers. We all buy things. And it's like, oh, we're going to get your prices lower, but we're also workers and we need a higher income. No one, Democrat or Republican, is arguing that we need higher wages, right? There's just addressing us as consumers, not as workers. I think that's the problem, and we've put up with it. It's like, oh yeah, well, you know, you get a T-shirt for made in Indonesia for $18 at the Gap. That's really cheap, and yes, it is. But we might be better off if that same T-shirt were $60 and it were made in Iowa instead.
I don't know. I don't know how you get there. I don't know how you keep the country from just being completely hollowed out more than it already is. I don't.
It's capitalism. It's the nature of capitalism. Marx had said all this was coming 175 years ago.
Yeah, but the problem is that Marx doesn't have a solution for any of it. I mean,
yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? So I mean,
basically, the workers have to control the production. Workers are their own bosses.
But that's my point. I mean, that's why I have a union. Yeah. And when all those jobs are hollowed out, honest to God, seriously, serious question: where was the automotive union? Where was the steel union? Where were all these different unions?
They were getting corrupted, paid off, and bribed.
Then Marx is wrong, because the unions are supposed to be owned by the workers. That's the whole point. That's why you pay dues.
But you can't have like a little island of Marxism in a sea of capitalism and expect it to live. And that's what a union was: a little island of socialism surrounded by a vast ocean of, you know, shark-infested capitalists. You know what I mean?
We should this as a Rumble Premium episode one day. Because yes, I'm serious. I want to learn about this, Because
Sure.
my biggest enemy, it's not China, it's not Russia, it's not North Korea. My enemy are, John, they're 2 miles away from your house.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I hate. Honest to God.
All right,
Yep.
Robbie, we'll take this up later. Okay, so thanks everyone for tuning in. You've been watching DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. We're here Monday through Friday, Eastern Time, 9 a.m. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday. John, always a pleasure.
Good to see you, Ted.
Please stay tuned on Rumble and tune in on TMI on YouTube to the TMI show with me, Ted Rall, and Vanilla Chan. And we'll have a lighter take on the news. See you later.